So good morning, everybody from Australia. Good evening if you're in Canada or the US or other countries around the world at the moment. And welcome to another modern astrology chart reading group. Today we're going to be looking at the chart of Aegidia. I like that pronunciation. Who was the daughter of Adrienne. So that's the chart on the screen right now. I keep looking to the left because I've got two screens. But it's an interesting chart. The chart's been out there for a while. The information we can see is we have a Capricorn sun, we have a Sagittarius moon, and we have a Piscean ascendant, which is an interesting mix. From the modalities, we're strong and cardinal. We're quite low and fixed energy. We are overwhelmingly mutable. So there's going to be a sense of change and growth. With the cardinal energy stoking that fire, we're going to see a person who's going to be moving constantly, I guess. The sign elements we're looking at here is we are strong in fire. So we're medium in earth and water, and we're quite low in air. So we're talking about a mutable soul, someone who's going to travel, somebody who's going to pick a direction, choose the horizon and move towards it with great vigor and great passion through fire. But also earth and water will be quite strong. The sign modalities are pretty balanced. We're angular and succedent to both 6 and cadent is 5. So from a house modality point of view, we've got quite a balanced chart. So what can we see in terms of hemispheres and quadrants?
A lot going on at the top.
Yeah. Hi, everybody.
Hello, Crystal. Crystal, how are you?
Sorry, I'm a little late.
That's
doing
all right.
fine.
Lovely to have you.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. It took me a while to get in the Zoom.
That's okay.
The hemispheres, I would say that it's more extrovert and external source. They're more motivated through external sources and probably extrovert personality and a lot of towards social, like a social media or like a social persona, maybe a person who is more public figure, more like.
I'd go with that. Does anybody else have any other thoughts on that?
I agree with that. I see that a lot of her time is going to be spent probably in the public life. It looks like she's pretty extroverted. Everything's up there in Capricorn and Sagittarius. So that's the house of career and like I said, public life. So it looks like she's on the track for a lot of high achievements in her career.
Agree.
I'd say she either is or will be a very, very good negotiator.
Well, okay, let's expand on that. When she negotiates, negotiation starts at the moment somebody says the word no. That's a quote that I heard a little while ago. What is she going to be drawing on then in her negotiations? How will her negotiations be conducted with other people? What is she going to be drawing on? Do you know what I mean? Even elementally.
So
I don't think I understand the
someone's
question.
logic.
All right. Who doesn't understand the question?
Crystal.
All right. What was the question?
Okay, well, when we negotiate with other people, what do we use? Some people use their emotions to negotiate. And when I say that, they use their emotions to understand where a person's coming from, and when they shape their answer, it's going to be directed in an emotional way. They're going to use their emotions to draw. Some people simply overwhelm other people. I've known Aries is a great sign for this. You know, they come at you both barrels and they'll roll right over the top of you and then they keep going. I'm talking about a stricter Aries in that way. An earth sign, it may be material, for example, or it may be pedantic and methodical. They may be somebody who's prepared to sit at the table and negotiate all day to make sure that every box is ticked and that everything's followed in the way, that protocol. while what does that leave? Air signs negotiate on an intellectual level. They're quite comfortable negotiating. The reason I'm doing this is I think Ivy's onto something really important with this chart. I think we're seeing somebody who's extremely social, who's going to be going out into the world, who's got a lot of mutable energy. So she's going to be moving at the speed of light when she's doing it, and it's cardinal. She's going to be moving in a direction. So something must be fueling that, and something must be impelling her. And if she's going to be social, then there needs to be a payoff. You know what I mean? And when I say a payoff, there needs to be an exchange. Isn't that what when we socialize with other people, that's essentially what we're doing. We're exchanging. And if we're negotiating, which goes one step beyond just socializing, that's negotiation is a passive form of combat, or it can be. And if it's very prominent in your chart, then you will develop tools in order to be able to do that. Especially if you're driven and you're moving towards something. Because I think we're going to be exploring that in this chart too. A person who's moving, who's driven, but will not stay in one place for too long. They're constantly chasing the horizon. When I look at strong cardinal and overwhelming mutable, that's what I see. I see somebody who sees something on the horizon that's not here right now and goes after it without a second thought. You know what I mean? So something's got to be fueling that. And I think Ivy's hit the nail on the head. I think it's very, very important because we're looking at a T-square here with Jupiter down there in the 3rd house, the moon up there in the 9th house. That's philosophy and communication. And then that T-squares off to Neptune in the 12th house, which is ephemeral, and it's attached to Chiron. So, and I think there's some journey in here that's been taken. Somebody's moving with great urgency forward, and whatever they're discovering and whatever they're developing through communication is resolving something that's happening in the 12th house. That's my initial takeaway from that. You may see something different, and I don't want to overwhelm this by pointing that out, but I think Ivy's hit on something really important really quickly here. So if negotiation is important to her, and remember, negotiation goes a step beyond socializing. It goes well beyond, it can, especially if it becomes an art. Then how is she negotiating? What's driving her negotiation?
When we look at the elements like passion and logic, maybe mostly, a little bit of emotion. I'm not sure what we're looking at. I guess I'm lost where the negotiation is. That's very interesting. I would like to know why we're saying negotiation, because I'm not really sure why.
Do you think it's that Uranus in the 1st house might have something to do with it?
Okay. Oh, with the Pisces rising.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And then the Aquarius with the Mars in Aquarius. Okay.
Yeah, right there.
Would that have something to do with it?
Yeah, absolutely. And also when we look at that Piscean Aquarius, what are the two rulers of Pisces?
Neptune and Jupiter.
Exactly.
Neptune and Jupiter, both of which are in that T-square.
Oh, okay. So we're looking at the T-square. I got you. All right. I'm following.
This is, again, I'm saying a sound approach is to look for the concentration of energy. Now, when we're looking at the ascendant, we're looking at the long game. We're looking at the big picture. There's a lot happening up in that 9th, 10th, and 11th house. They all cluster into one another. So on a day-to-day basis, if we're talking esoterically in the space of this lifetime, I think that's where everything's going to be playing out. But I think in the long game, and if we're talking esoterically, we're talking into the next life and maybe beyond, then the 12th house is probably where it's all leading to.
Makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And the 3rd house. And the interesting thing is, again, too, we've got and air is low in her elements. So she won't be negotiating intellectually. The intellect and the abstracts and the theoretical won't be important in her negotiations. Not as important as other stuff. We've got a Jupiter down there in the 3rd house, but it's retrograde. So how do we see this playing out? Or what potentials do we see? What potential paths do we see here?
potential
Pluto in
path.
the third house for communication. Maybe she has big things she wants to say, but it's retrograde, so she's not doing well in communicating her
Mm-hmm.
thoughts.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. But
Yeah.
it's growing. It's something that's expanding and growing within
Mm-hmm.
her at the same time. That's the energy of Jupiter. Yeah.
Yeah. So I see it. So the thoughts will be kind of everywhere, right?
Yeah, we got Gemini
Mm-hmm.
involved too, so there's a duality
Mm-hmm.
going on. There's
Exactly.
which can be static electricity in a way,
Mm-hmm.
if it's not
Mm-hmm.
able to express. And what's that squaring?
It's squaring
Neptune and
Sorry, in
Chiron.
opposition to. What's it in opposition to? Sorry, because the
Oh,
square's
the
The
going to
moon.
moon.
be the point of release
the
on it.
moon.
The
The
Yes,
moon.
moon.
up there
Ah.
in
So the person
Sagittarius.
craves like emotional freedom, but their communications might be everywhere. Is that what we're doing? Like, would that be that would be the opposition, the different energies?
Absolutely. And
Mhm.
signs in opposition are always in conflict anyway. By their
Right.
very, very natures. But also houses in opposition are also in conflict. The third house is local learning. It's the learning we get from school. It's the learning we get from what's around us. But
Mm-hmm.
the ninth house is learning and communication that's developed out there in the world, hands-on,
Right.
outside of home, as far away from home as possible. It's other
Mm-hmm.
people's ideas, it's other people's philosophy,
Mm-hmm.
other people's religions, and things like that. And that's in Sagittarius. So that's somebody who's not really interested sticking around and waiting for answers. Meanwhile, we've down the
Okay.
bottom here, we've got this Jupiter in the third house. I can see Adrian smiling at this point, so we might be getting close to something. Um, I love
Mm-hmm.
video. It's good for this. Reactions are really important to me when I'm working with clients. So we've got this immediate conflict that's happening between these two.
Mm-hmm.
So what are we looking at? The moon up in Sagittarius, up in the ninth house. How might we interpret that?
Um, maybe emotionally invested into other people's ideas. Um, maybe emotionally crave emotional freedom, like not that when you're traveling a higher learn doesn't necessarily have to be actual learning, right? It could be like mental, in a mental capacity, spiritual. So you want to expand your learning, and you kind of emotionally crave it. You crave more um higher learning or spirituality, and you might be really connected to it too, like a real you might need it, whether it's
Right.
atheist spirituality,
Yep.
any type of religion. It might be something that's really important to you, and or freedom to think differently. um Maybe
And
even teaching, right? Don't you
for
teach
sure,
there?
for sure, absolutely. But the more you're talking, the more you're describing a sign, a particular sign of the zodiac.
Mm-hmm.
And all of those qualities, you can find them in Sagittarius,
Mm-hmm.
which naturally
And,
rules the ninth house anyway. So that's, if I was to wrap this
it
up as,
does. Absolutely.
yeah, if I was going to wrap this up and put a bow on the top of it, we've got a person who's growing up in a particular environment down here in the
Mm-hmm.
third house, and they've had their
Mm-hmm.
teachers and they've had their learning coming on. And if this is correct, this could be incredibly frustrating for you, Adrian.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody who's like, they hear everything that's coming in, and it's creating an
Mm-hmm.
urgency because it's not making sense to them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's not fitting in with their narrative of, or what their mind and their instincts are telling us. And not even the mind, because we've got airs, only got three here. So something inside them, and it's
Mm-hmm.
overwhelming, is telling them that, yeah, okay, this is all well and good, but this is not what I'm here to learn.
Yeah, and how would it relate to it as the mother? Wouldn't it say something? Maybe the mother was very religious, or maybe the mother would have a freedom of thinking. Um, would that be right about your mother, or is she far away in a foreign place?
Just a bit of
Is any?
backstory, Crystal. The mother is Adrienne. She's sitting here right now.
Mhm.
Yeah, so you're
Oh,
quite welcome
you're
to
you're.
ask it.
Oh, okay. Hi, Adrian.
Hi. So she's like 11 right now.
Oh,
And yeah.
okay. Um, so are you really religious? So you're doing this for your daughter, and you're the mom.
Yeah.
So how would you
Yes.
describe you and your daughter's relationship?
In that specific capacity.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, I'm so sorry. Yeah, because I know, I'm trying to get this thing where I know the moon represents the mother in a relationship that the mother has with the child, or some like the child feels like they don't give her mother or enough.
Oh no,
They
I
get
think
too
you're
much or
right.
not enough.
You're totally right. Because I like she's
Mhm.
grown up like with a like it like I my metaphysical business was at home. So
Mhm.
like she grew up like in my business, like my Age of Tarot.
Mm.
Like I'm a professional tarot card reader and I was teaching yoga. So this was like
Oh,
in that you were just so right. It's just like it was she just grew up with it. Like she was always
awesome.
interested in it.
Uh-huh.
Like I thought that the North Node in Scorpio would because I have the same North Node because we
Uh-huh.
are 19 years apart. Is that how it
Uh-huh.
works? Or what something? We have the same North Node.
Yeah,
So I
it's
always thought
something.
we were
Yeah,
gonna work
same
together.
generation.
But
Uh-huh.
I don't like it's like Damien said, like I can't really reach her. Like she's got her own inner
And that might be the opposition that would be going on here between
woman.
your communication and maybe her communication. Maybe that would be the opposition with Jupiter and Gemini in the third house, and you being a mom in the ninth house, and with the the whole opposition going on, and it's in retrograde down here. So that's interesting, because I'd be really trying to understand that part of the moon signs with the mothers.
But you also at the same time you can be both. I mean, the mother is telling her to dress warm on a cold day, to eat all her
Mm-hmm.
dinner, and do
Mm-hmm.
all of these mundane things. But at the same time, she's watching you. You're this tarot reader. You're this person
Right.
who you got a whole set of radical new ideas that go outside the mainstream and the norm. So you're feeding her.
Absolutely.
You are basically, in many ways, a manifestation of that opposition on the chart, don't you think?
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's awesome.
So, and in a way, what you're saying is contradictory. What you're saying and what you're showing her at the same time, she's getting two completely different messages. So,
Yep.
so she's. I can see you laughing. Okay, I think we're on the right track. But you know what I mean. So you're the mom in the mundane capacity. I'm taking on the American pronunciation of that. But you're also the radical mother at the same time, who's bringing all these new and bigger ideas. That she's not finding in her local environment. They're not getting taught at school. They're not teaching you yoga at school. They're not teaching you tarot at school. So these bigger metaphysical ideas that go outside the mainstream, you're providing both. So does anybody want to add on that? Somebody want to build on that?
I don't know if I want to necessarily build, but she's going to really love traveling, I think.
Well, it
She's
sounds
done
like
a
she
lot of
already is.
traveling so far and she really
Yeah.
does like it.
Yeah.
She's good at it too. She can like maneuver the crowds like pretty good and like find where we have to go and stuff like even better than I can when we're traveling around.
Wow, it's kind of crazy because that is the house of teaching, and with you being the mother moon, it's actually in this house of teaching. Okay, I like that. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
And she does have this resistance to like everyday stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But she's a little kid, right? She's got to do what everybody's telling her basically and like
Yeah, but then
And it's
then she
not
has
sitting well with
the
her.
she doesn't
other.
like that at all.
Yeah, I mean that's a
Hmm?
normal thing about kids, but also she has another level of astrologically how it's not going to like sit well with her too.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. Now, when you get a T-square, generally the point where the two squares meet is the point of release. That's you've got this opposition energy that's building up, and where the squares meet, which is Neptune over there in the 12th house, which for
Are there
these
two
two is a
squares?
very interesting, quite challenging placement. Sorry, what was that?
Aren't there two T squares just next to each other? It's like the Chiron
Yes,
and
one running
yeah,
off to Chiron as well.
yeah,
In a situation like that, I would go for the planet rather than the
yeah.
asteroid, just because
Gotcha.
planets carry a lot more weight and a lot more energy. Chiron's
For
involved.
sure.
The way I'd
Mhm.
interpret that is I'd look at Chiron in relation to Neptune. I think that's, do you know what I mean? And that's just a nice way of tying that together. It's a little big for a conjunction for 5 degrees for an asteroid. I think it's 3 you'd normally. But for Chiron, you know, generally, especially in a placement like that, I'd give it a bit of leeway, and it's already created its own T-square in the same house, in the same sign. So me instinctively, I'd put those two together. But I mean, if you want to, if you can build a case for another way of looking at it, by all means, you know, let's talk about it. So if we're looking at how would we interpret those two together anyway, if we've got Neptune and Chiron together? What is Neptune?
Neptune is compassion. It's actually it could be illusions, creativity, imagination. Is it transformation in some sort?
Not to the same degree as Pluto, but yeah, sure, there's a
Yeah,
transformational
Pluto. I'm
process.
sorry. Yeah,
That's
Pluto's
all right. No, no,
transformation.
no, 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 no.
Yeah.
There's a subtle journey of transformation that happens in Neptune too. Neptune, to me, I always look at as it's a journey through the unknown. If we're going to give it a direction, faith is like hard work. You don't know if it's going to pay off until it does. So you keep doing it until you reach where you want to go. I think for me, one of the best ways of understanding Neptune for me is the word faith, because then
Faith.
what we have faith in, we believe in, whether it's real, whether it's not real. And there we have a building block for religion. We have a religion, you know, we have a building block for a lot of the other aspects that Neptune expresses as a planet. So faith for me that's my key word when I'm working with Neptune.
Faith.
Yeah, you know, when people, for example, religion, you know, if you're not born into religion, it can be crazy, the craziest thing to look at. People who believe in something you
Right.
can't see, an entity that, you know, you're not familiar with, that's talking about something that's so incompatible with the physical world that we're living in and the way that you constantly every day see human beings treating each other. You know what I mean? It can be very, very difficult for a person who is not born into religion to wrap their mind around. Yet people who are born into religion, it can feel quite natural.
Right.
And it's more than that. In many ways, they build their lives around that faith. But that faith doesn't pay off in this lifetime. These behaviors in this lifetime is designed to, I'm talking at a reductionist level here, to pay off at a future point in time after we die. So there's no way to know if it's going to pay off or not. It's the same with the ancient mariners. You know, they'd get in a ship, they'd sail across water that nobody had been on because they believed they were going to reach land that nobody else had discovered. And the ocean is full of ships that never made it. But the ones that make it, you know, that's a story of faith at work. You know what I mean? And it manifests, it produces results. So it's reaching out into the world. Not just in the hope that something will happen, but in the belief you're creating. In order to take that journey, you need to create the belief in yourself that the journey's not only worth taking, but will be rewarding. When I see Neptune on a chart, for most people, I think in its purest form, it doesn't manifest in a lifetime. I don't think most of us have the faith, the internal faith, in order to be able to fulfill that journey in the space of one lifetime. I think we're constantly working. But you know, we all learn different lessons in this lifetime that either we're going to drive us toward it or drive us away from it. Now, we've got Chiron sitting right next to this planet. So there's a fear of that journey of faith, that leap of faith.
Yes, that's what I
internally.
see. It's going to be it's going to be an area. It's a wounded area there. It's going to create some type of wound. That maybe the difference in with Adrian, what you believe in, maybe it might cause some conflict right there where she's not understanding what she needs to believe in or what she don't need to believe in. You know, I'm not really, it's hard to say. How old is she?
11.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to say and confirm it, but it may be a wounded area due to religion or something. That's what I see. I don't know. I'm
I
stumbling.
was gonna say, because Neptune is in its own house or in its own sign. Neptune's in Pisces. Maybe this her spirituality, being Neptune, might also be her path of healing.
Yes.
Absolutely. Especially with Chiron there. I believe that too. I agree.
but it's also in a 12th house, so it might be something that she's uncomfortable with.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What's her sun sign? It's
Her
Capricorn.
sun sign?
Yeah, her sun sign is
Yeah,
Capricorn.
Capricorn.
Capricorn doesn't trade in faith, does it?
Mm.
What is the one sign that's got a positive aspect running off to that Chiron on the chart?
Saturn. Is that
Yeah,
Saturn?
Saturn, which is the ruler of
Saturn.
Capricorn in the 8th house. Saturn doesn't
Facts.
run on faith. Saturn runs on
Right.
hard work and results.
Right.
Just by talking about this conflict between faith and practicality, again, that's driving us right back to these lessons learned down in
To
the
the
3rd house.
elements.
Life's showing us
Yes.
two things right now. It's showing us that, you know, hard work's important and applying ourselves is as important, because everybody's telling me that. But at the same time, I'm seeing signs that there's a bigger world than the one we're living in. I've already seen it. I've been traveling enough to see the world's bigger than what they're telling me in the classroom. I've probably seen enough contradictions to what I'm hearing in the classroom and in the people around me to know that that's bullshit. I was actually raised Christian myself, and I remember a similar story. My mother was right into New Age stuff. I was going to festivals all the time and meeting people from different religions and different schools of faith and stuff. And one day I was sitting in church, and the priest got up, priest who I had a lot of respect for, got up and started running down all these other religions, why they were not going to see the light and weren't going to go to heaven. That killed Christianity for me right in that moment. Because I'd seen enough and experienced enough in my lifetime. I must have been probably the same age she is, to know that was not true. So, and by extension, authority wasn't true, and rules weren't true. All these lessons that Aquarians latch on to way too easily. You know, so maybe she's had similar experiences herself. She's seen enough and done enough to have enough experience to litmus test whether something's true or not, at least for her. So we've got this contradiction here between the physical material manifesting and ruthless when pushed energy of Capricorn, that's rubbing up against this Neptunian energy happening up in the 12th house, which is also linked to her ascendant. Does that sort of make sense? And that water energy that's happening over there is alien to a lot of other things that are happening in this chart. Even the water happening up there in the 8th house is happening in Scorpio. And it's happening with Saturn. You know what I mean? So it's not experiencing in the same way. So we see it's a person who doesn't operate through thought and theory. She's operating through passion, through experience, and through her feelings. So she's getting all this information coming in at once, and she's processing it. And maybe it's creating this idea in here. I can see faith emerging on the horizon, but there's some internal static about it. Do I go towards it or do I not? But we can see, based on the way her chart's set up, she's going to travel anyway. She's going to go after the horizon, and she's going to chase down new ideas and new ways of living and seeing and experiencing things. And as you pointed out very early, it's going to be through other people. It's really through people. She's right up there in the southern hemisphere. But if we also just extend that right down, that first quadrant is also quite important. So everything that she does is going to apply back to her. You know, she's not going to do it necessarily for the good of everybody else. She will probably play nice and work with everybody else, but she's there to solve her own problems and learn about herself and learn about her own life at the end of the day. That doesn't make her ruthless, doesn't make her mercenary. It gives us some insight into the way her mind works. How are we doing so far, Adrian? I'm a little cautious because I know you're
really
a mum.
good.
Okay.
No, it's really good because it's almost like there are two people inside of her, you know? Sometimes like the trying to merge the two, I think. Yeah, it's fascinating. It helps me quite a lot too because I have like a strong air, so I have a hard time communicating with her sometimes. But she's a very she's a very interesting little kid. Like I love spending time with her. Is that I don't know, I always feel like that Uranus is coming in and she's a bit clumsy sometimes, she's very like quick to change her mind, quick to do certain things. But thank you. I really appreciate this. It sounds like you explained it really well for all those like components in that chart. Because I always had a hard time reading the 10th house for her.
Okay. Does anybody
Like
want
with
to take a
Pluto.
run at that 10th house? Because there is a lot happening in there.
I got a quick side question. Is she accident prone?
Is she actually a what? Sorry.
Accident prone.
She's
Like,
really
does she have
clumsy.
accidents? Clumsy? Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I
She
was
knocks
getting
stuff
from
over and all this.
yeah, I was thinking that with the Uranus in Aries.
And in the
She
first
just moves
house, yeah.
so quick.
Yeah.
Like she just quick. It's like always a worry for me.
Which is funny when you look at all that Capricorn energy at the time. The Capricorns I know are slow. They don't do anything. You know what I mean? Oh, my brother-in-law, my God, his ritual every morning is a shower and a bathroom session that takes about an hour and a half. He's a Capricorn. And if we're all, when we travel overseas, generally we'll just get one big social house. And if there's only one bathroom in it, forget it. If you don't wake up before him, it's gone. Just go about your day. So it's interesting. She's got that urgency and that speed. But again, that just fits in with those modalities so well,
So you guys were saying like Aries expressing itself with Uranus. Is that what's causing the clumsiness?
Because
Yeah,
she's
I
moving
feel
so
like
quickly all the time.
like she's in that fire sign and I'm pretty sure Aries is intercepted in that sign, right? So
Yeah.
there's this leadership energy that she has trouble accessing, and then Uranus comes in and just makes it, she's just like very just awkward and clumsy for some reason.
A lot of
Intuitive for
unexpected
me, it was
things happen with
intuitively.
Uranus there. Oh, I was saying a lot of unexpected things happen with Uranus, especially in the first house, because your first house is typically house of health. So with her, especially if she's moving very fast, that could lead to her falling, hitting her head, things like that. So that's why I was asking if she's clumsy or not.
Yo, yeah, 100%. And even that Jupiter, like I always say, she talks a lot too,
Yeah, I see the sextile there. I was thinking that.
I was wondering if you were talking about how she's got leadership qualities, but they don't tend to manifest. It's difficult to lead when your communication is retrograde and expansive at the same time as a person who talks a lot, but is probably a bit contradictory in what they say, or it doesn't make a lot of sense to other people who are trying to listen to. It's difficult to listen to people when you can't issue orders. Again, too, when you've got that Aries up there, and she's got Mars up there in the 11th house, so it implies that she's naturally social. But also naturally short-tempered in that process too, or she'll look for the quickest route. And unfortunately for her, communication is not it, or at least there's some challenges there when it comes to that. Yeah.
Ain't that called like an accidental, like the fact that Aries and Mars, that Mars is in Aquarius and Uranus is in Aries, isn't that like an accidental, can't think of the word.
Essential reception or
Yes.
mutual reception.
Mutual reception.
Yes. Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because Saturn's receptive of Pluto too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yes, a lot going on. That's wow. Okay. All right, back on mute. I'm listening.
Interestingly too, there's a trine running from that Jupiter, the confusion of Jupiter down there up to that Mars up in there in the 11th house. So if she wants to work on her communication skills, working with other people, maybe working in social groups, groups with a manifest that points outwards to social or political or, community level engagement and things like that. That's a really good way for her to do that. you know, and she'll be passionate about it. That's a good place to apply her passion. She'll learn some communication skills while she's doing it. It's going to alleviate the pressure of that expanding communication conflict that's happening down there in the third house. Yeah. Also, it's a great opportunity too with that Aries in the first house to get out there and learn all the things that you shouldn't say to people if you want to get along with them. Until you learn to not do that anymore. That's a good way to do that. You know, make all your mistakes at once. Yeah.
With her Mercury being in the 10th house, maybe her being in something where, yeah, like you were saying, she learns how to talk to people, like maybe something like I don't know what they called it in school anymore. I've been out of school for so long. Where they teach you speech, essentially, how to speak in public speaking. That's where it was. So like maybe something like that will be beneficial for her, especially when it comes to her career in the future.
Yep, I see that. Makes sense.
There's an organization called Toastmasters. It's international. My daughter
That's what I
and
was thinking of.
my wife and daughter are doing it right now. So, you know, both to help them with public speaking and stuff like that.
I have a friend that's doing it and she loves it.
Yeah. Yeah. And they've got a lot of interesting techniques on how to talk, and they deliver it in ways that distract you away from the agony of talking in front of other people. Like, you know, tools like time, like subjects, like they create different kinds of pressure to move you past that. It's interesting. But at the same time, they don't force anybody to do anything they don't want to do. Apparently, there's people who've been going for a year and a half who still haven't spoken. So I don't see the point of that myself. I don't know why you'd join. But that's an option, you know, something like Toastmasters.
I think I did Toastmasters a long time ago.
Yeah.
It's free, right?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I did it back in high school. I remember that.
Yeah,
Some places might have it free, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember it.
Yeah, got a little round badge. I remember that.
Oh, did you? I got a piece of paper.
Did you? Oh, you got ripped off. You did. I got a shiny little metal badge.
Yeah, she went to the free version.
Oh, she
Yeah.
got the free one. That's it. Yeah. Laser printed. Yeah.
Just get a photocopy of something.
That's right. Photocopied. Yeah.
She actually has problems writing, and I can see like why. She is much better speaking. Like at school, she uses a voice to text Chromebook or something.
Okay. It's good that the schools are
And
doing
she can't write as fast as she's thinking, I think is what's happening too.
Exactly. I can see that. Yeah, I was going to say. I'm finding that as I'm getting older too. My handwriting used to be great when I was younger, but my mind's moving faster than my hand can move now. I'm starting to write doctor scripts, you know, that's all rubbish. So I have to
Or we're just all on our phones and we're just not getting that much practice with actually writing anymore.
Well, I'm not social, Sydney. I'm not texting anybody. But
well, that's my case.
Yeah, there you go. But sitting there, I've got to imagine each letter before I write it. So my brain's loading up each letter pedantically before it happens. Yeah. Okay, so we've identified that. I think that's a really, really, really solid opportunity there, Razi. You've nailed that. How about that conjunction that her Mercury's got with Pluto?
I was thinking whatever communication skills she developed is going to be what transforms her life because of that Pluto.
Transformation.
That's where I was getting the negotiator from.
Oh, okay, I get it.
Sorry, what was that?
That's where she was getting the negotiation from.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I see it. Real intense. I see like so I was looking at the 7th and the 10th and the second house, how they was all connected. But I see the 7th house is intercepted. So I'm still like learning the interceptions. So will we say that it would be maybe be a struggle with fairness, diplomacy, would she be more decisive or more indecisive? Like, how would we interpret that as interception in the 7th house, going to the career house, going to the 10th house? I mean, with the Venus in the 10th house.
Does anybody have any thoughts? I think you've, in some ways, already answered your question, Crystal. I think you're on the right track there.
Mm. So was the interception correct, the way I would describe it, or am I off subject here?
I think your question is correct. I think some of the things that you said and the way that you framed your question began to answer your question. Let's try a different question to ask the same question. Do you think she'll be fair in the way she negotiates? Let's look at the energy.
Okay. Good one. Let me see.
Do you think she'll be what? Sorry, fearful?
Fair-minded in the way that she communicates.
Fair.
I'm gonna say
F-A-I-R, not
no.
F-E-A-R. Yeah.
Possibly.
Will she be
Right, because
equitable?
I think she might be ruthless.
maybe, yeah, because I see that Venus is in Sagittarius, and that's like going, like she's going, and she's achieving, and she's reaching, and she's not sitting still. Like she's probably think fast, she's quick with it. You know, maybe she don't sit there and take the time to really, I'm not sure. Like I see speed there. Maybe some type of business though, speaking, like she said, negotiation. I'm not sure if I see, I'm not sure if I can tell you whether I see if she would be fair or not fair. So, but I'm looking at the Venus in Sagittarius, and I'm thinking she may be a little bit everywhere. Very direct.
If she was your boss, if you were looking at your boss's chart right now,
Mhm.
would you think it'd be an easy boss to work for? And I'm not saying that it's going to be black and white. I'm not saying that. But if we had a center line, if the right extreme was the person who works for their team, and if the left side of the spectrum, the other side of the spectrum, was a person whose team works for that individual, what side is she closer to? Do you think
Left.
she could be right in the middle?
Yeah, I think that she'll be very ambitious, confident, and maybe fairness might not be that big of a deal to her, but she will get the job done. And I say that because when you say the boss, I'm looking at the 6th house with Leo, and then the sun in Capricorn. And that look hard working, ambitious for the people, but fairness may be something that she will work through. She may eventually get it, but she may be more concerned with getting the job done. I don't know. That's what I see. Maybe somebody help me out here. I need a lifeline.
She's giving me lawyer judge vibes for the future career. But I'm looking more at her Pluto and her Saturn, which are in sextile, which is why I think like whatever she goes for, she's gonna be ruthless because she's gonna want to dig deep about it.
Definitely see that.
But I think a lot of that, like she's going to temper how she goes about it because of her Mercury and her Pluto being in near conjunction. Well, actually, they are in conjunction.
And then in a practical sign. Okay, I'll say that. So we might go more with fair because it looks like it should be more practical and logical as opposed to being just fierce and everywhere. Okay. Yeah, she may be fair. I could see that. Because even she can be an investigator, detective, and all that requires being fair and logical and doing the work behind the scenes. So okay, I can see that. Okay.
I wonder if when I look at that opposition we first started talking about, she's constantly in a state of weighing up opposites. Okay, people around me are talking about fairness, people around me are talking about hard work, people around me are talking about how we treat one another and things like that. But then I look at that mutable and I look at that cardinal, and I look at that Sagittarian moon up the top of the chart, and I see somebody who will probably look at that and think, okay, well, I've heard all that, now I'm going to go and find out. And I'm going to go and find out fast, and I'm going to go and find out hard. and she's going to learn experientially and kinesthetically. I don't see somebody who's afraid of making mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see somebody who's afraid of being hurt while she's out there learning and things like that. I just see somebody who is afraid of the unknown, with Neptune in the 12th house, with Chiron sitting right on it. Maybe the unknown has never been kind to her. Maybe the unknown sets off all her alarm bells. So she's going to go out there and she's going to enforce her will on the world in order to create order and control and direction in her life. And along the way, she's going to hurt people. She's going to make mistakes. She's going to do things that will give her feedback. And I think she'll make decisions based on that, but she will do first. She'll shoot first and she'll ask questions later. I think that, and I think that sums up in some ways what Crystal's saying and what Razi's saying, and what I've heard coming in. I think it's a combination. When putting the question out there for an 11-year-old, do you think she's going to be fair in the way she does things, is a loaded question. She hasn't decided yet. She hasn't decided yet. But again, too, we're looking at this this opposition down here. I don't think she'll ever make decisions like that. She's not going to sit down and agonize and think about it. She's not going to overthink that stuff. She's not going to stress about the little things. She's going to get out there and she's going to do it. She's going to get her feedback. We've identified she's the top half of the chart she's strong in, and also the first quadrant. So she's going to go out there with her own ideas and her own rules. She'll be social when she does it. But she's looking for her own feedback. She's creating her own experiences, and she will be creating her own take on the world.
I wonder if there's, I just saw that Neptune and Chiron, like, as like maybe like even like a fear of healing.
Yes.
Like
Who
that.
knows who's familiar with the myth of Chiron? Who was Chiron?
He was the wounded healer.
The wounded healer, but they call him the wounded healer. He was the teacher of Hercules. If you want to read an interesting book about esotericism and spiritualism, read the Labors of Hercules from the Lucas Trust. It talks about all
Didn't
the
he get
12
injured by like
labors.
somebody?
Sorry?
When he was born,
He got
no,
injured
he
by
got
one of his
wounded.
students.
Yeah, and he could
Think
heal
so, but-
everybody but himself.
Yeah, he could heal everybody but himself. That was Chiron. Yeah. So
He
he
was
could
supposed to
teach
be
other people,
immortal.
he could heal other people, but he could not heal himself. Yeah. Just that one phrase, I think, really captures Chiron in such a strong way, and that creates that expectation of fear. You know what I mean? Because whatever injuries we sustain, we're not going to be able to heal them ourselves. We're going to have to wait for time and experience and feedback to tell us when that wound has gone away. And by, when you get a wound, you can't help but touch it, but you want to leave it alone at the same time. You know what I mean? And for Chiron, the only way we know Chiron wounds have healed is we keep touching them all the time until they stop hurting. Because we can't heal them ourselves. Nothing conventional is going to do it. Only time and experience can move us past Chiron as an obstacle. So in a way, and this particular chart, because that's taking her in a direction she really doesn't want to go. She's going to take her off into the airy fairy world of Neptune, and trusting people and trusting her subconscious and trusting the world in a way that she's practically not predisposed to do. That's how she's going to move past that. And it's the ruler of her ascendant. Her life's going to keep taking her back to those injuries, to that one injury or whatever it is, that fear that injury creates. And it's interesting because the only planet that's really feeding that Chiron is the planet of fear. It's Saturn up there in the 8th house. So maybe if we take what we said before, and like Razi said, we're talking about somebody who's got hardline energy, who could be ruthless. Maybe the only way she's going to get that feedback about how she's impacting the other world is through fear and pain. When she does things that create fear and pain, that's at the extreme. If she's not going to allow herself. I mean, that Mars up there in the 11th house is offering her a way out on that. You know what I mean? Sure, be passionate and things like that, but also be mindful of the groups you're in. Work for the greater good. Don't work just for yourself. And that will always be rewarding. You will always find the words with that trine running down to Jupiter in Gemini, you will always find the words that you need to in order to resolve a situation and to grow past it. But if you're going to go out there, both guns blazing, and get what you want as ruthlessly and as efficiently as you can, it's going to cause you pain. You know?
Yep.
And
And the kind of pain that will hurt because it's connected to your Chiron, and you'll probably go away and privately struggle over that and try and figure out why that happens, you know. And again, too, that Aries energy, you're always going to be bashing your head against something until you learn.
True that.
What's that song by Amy Mann? It's not going to stop till you wise up. You know, so yeah. How are we doing? I think we're doing great.
I agree.
But Adrienne, how do you feel? You know, you're the client today.
She always learns things the hard way. So it's not a surprise that she might treat people insensitively.
Yeah, okay.
She does have a strong concept of fairness. I mean, we're in like such a power dynamic, right? Like I'm trying to raise her, and like she thinks sometimes I'm picking on her because it's not the same thing that she thinks, but she is fascinating. I think she'll be a very interesting leader because when I'm not around, like she's not afraid to lead people around, not lead people, but she's not afraid to, I guess, I don't know. She's pretty dynamic, so kids are drawn to her.
She's the director, not the cameraman.
Yeah, total 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Even like as a little kid, she like little kid. She's the boss.
Yeah. She's got finger in your chest boss energy. I can see that. Yeah. So in a way, I kind of look at that opposition again there, and I think for her it might be okay. I keep hearing you talk about fairness, and now fairness and justice are not the same thing. And you know, I keep hearing people making a big deal about this fairness, banging on about it and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. You know, again, too, it might be one of those things that it's not getting me what I want. I know what gets me what I want. And again, too, that could be that Sagittarius up in the ninth house. Sagittarius, the best story for me for Sagittarius is the prodigal son. Goes out there and burns everything down, burns through all their resources, but comes back 3 times more experienced than everybody. But they come back purely through attrition, not because they want to. You know, it's because they run out of resources. They burn their bridges, all that stuff. Then come back wiser than everybody else.
I'm a Sagittarius moon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything else on this we haven't explored, or is that somebody else wants to talk about? I think the only thing we haven't really touched on is Venus.
Is that the analytics degree? Is that what the 29 is? Is that the degree?
Anoretic.
And is that how you say it?
I think so.
Anoretic.
How do you say it?
I've only ever read
Anoretic.
it. I don't know.
The 29th degree is the anoretic degree.
Yeah, the energy's swelling. She can be very charming.
That might be that Uranus in the first house, by the way.
Oh,
Make her
that's
charming.
cute. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think she would have a really good fashion sense for her career too.
Where are you drawing that from?
Well, because Venus sometimes represents either like, you know, fine jewelry,
beauty,
nice looking things. So like in terms of her career, like if we were to look at Venus as her, she would probably be very fashionable or very well liked in her career. Even though she might go down hard on people, people would probably like and respect her.
So based on what you're saying, if I looked at those 3 planets, Venus, Pluto, and Mercury, she could travel the world looking for conflict diamonds and bring them back and sell them in her own country. Something like that, who knows? Yeah, but they'll be high grade and excellent quality.
And with those three planets in between the sun and the moon, that kind of looks like something. It looks like those three planets are kind of encompassed in her entire personality. So who she is inside, and who she represents. You know, the sun represents you know, what she's here to do. But Pluto, Mercury, and Venus being in the middle, all jumbled up together like that. I mean, that, and in the 10th house of career, I mean, that could indicate that she's going to do something, you know, where she's got to communicate, and she's got to look good doing it, and she's got to be a little cutthroat in the same, you know. So
She won't be afraid to stand alone while she's doing it. I think that's what I'm hearing.
and also having Mars in Aquarius, you know, Mars is the, I mean, and Aquarius is the air sign, intellect, communication, and Mars is the planet of drive and all that good stuff. So that tells me that she's probably going to be pretty ambitious when she is communicating. So she'll have no problem communicating when she starts to communicate.
I'd agree with that.
Probably when she's a teenager, by the way. It's probably going to get a little worse before it gets better.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah,
what
that's
I'm
also
hearing
that.
too is, yeah, she'll be passionate about, when she's passionate about something, she'll have no problem talking about it.
Absolutely. Yeah. But she probably already is like that, honestly.
Yeah, she needs to be like in karate or something, because she's got to channel that somewhere, because she's not really doing anything right now. So it's
karate is perfect, and it's really good. It'll be a good way for her to ground and stay present and stay out of her head and stop overthinking and, you know, all that stuff that we all do, really.
Karate's about directing power too. It's about summoning up key energy and delivering it. So it's very directed of the martial arts. It's probably one of the most plosive, high impact martial arts in that regard. It's not like you know, Bagua or all those other kung fu forms that are quite expansive and moving constantly in direction. Karate is bang, it's direct straight lines. So it, you know, it's a great way. That might be a great way for her of the martial arts. It could be a really good one to work with.
So not Tai Chi.
yeah, keep her busy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's intensely physical.
That was the thing. That was the class she was always the best at too. She got kicked out of ballet like I don't know how many times. She wasn't very good in swimming, but when it came to karate, she was just going with it.
That Sagittarius moon, she's got that fire inside. You're laughing because you know.
But also
God,
Capricorn. Also that Capricorn energy, easily 50% of the power of a strike in karate comes from the ground. It comes from the feet. And it all delivers into the hand or the foot. So your footwork, how you ground and how you connect to the earth, is where you draw your power from. So
and isn't Pisces about the feet too? Pisces represents the feet, isn't that right?
That's right. Yeah, Aquarius the ankles, Pisces the feet.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe we're onto something. Maybe the karate is just the avenue that she needs to explore her spirituality, where she has a little bit of a wound because of maybe how she's been raised, you know. So maybe the karate is a way to, because she is 11, so 11 to 12 to 13, you know, that's where you go from being a child to a teenager, a preteen. So maybe this is the avenue she needs to go down right now, and maybe it'll take her where she needs to go in life eventually.
And look, she's going to go out there into the world whether you like it or not. I think we'll see when she's ready to go, she's going to go. So at least knowing how to kick some ass while she's doing it, it's not going to hurt. And protect herself at the same time while she's out there in the world doing her thing, you know, because she's got the potential to ruffle some feathers, along the way, you know. I guess what we're teaching here is, hey, you know, not only I'm going to upset people, but if push comes to shove, I can also knock them out. I don't know if that's the message we want to send.
Well, and she won't have to knock them out,
you know. So just teach her to negotiate before she strikes.
Yeah, because she can be beautifully righteous, like.
Yeah.
She's already
That can be her nickname.
Yeah.
We can call her that for her
Yeah.
nickname.
Beautifully righteous. She's beautifully
And in
righteous.
this corner, we've got beautifully righteous here to kick some butt.
And in the other corner, we have the world.
Surprise!
It should be
She wouldn't
chomping at the
believe
bit.
it
I can
anyways.
see it. She'll be that one who's, you know, getting right up, walking around the ring and getting in their face before it starts. Yeah.
Definitely.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you, everybody. That's amazing.
Welcome. Thanks for bringing us this chart.
Yeah, it's always been kind of a mystery for me, you know, because I don't have that much mutable energy at all.
Well, well, you got a little more time to go with this one. And that Uranus in the first house, just be sure to let her express herself however, you know, how she wants to. Try to encourage her to speak and wear what she wants to wear and talk about the things that she's thinking about.
My son has oh no, she's gonna wear what she's gonna wear, but luckily it's like all like very modest clothing, so thank God.
Well, for now, yeah.
Well, there's a lot of
there's a lot of masculine energy.
Traditional.
Well, yeah.
Presentable, efficient.
You know. Yeah, basically.
But she may come out of that stage, you know. It just depends on what happens in the next couple of years, you know, and she's going to come out of the tomboy stage or the young girl stage, and she's going to go into the next stage of her life. And if she's interested in, you know, a relationship or boys or whatever, I know it's kind of early. I know she's only 11, but you know, you just have to remember that that's next. You know, we've got stages that we go through. So we've got the preteen, the teenager, and then from there, you know, we got young adults. So just be sure to, because she'll rebel is what I'm trying to tell you. If you're too strict, if she starts, if you start trying to, she'll rebel, and you may or may not know that she's rebelling, just depending on how sneaky she is. So
oh no, you're totally right. She's been rebelling since she could talk. Like she's
that's that Uranus in the first house right there. Yeah, and Mars in Aquarius. That's those placements. So yeah, so you just have to keep an eye on that.
Okay, good advice. Thank you.
You're welcome.
She's always sure of herself too. Like I'm seeing that with that sun. That must be that sun up there, right?
Oh yeah, that's a good thing. That's very good. Well, you want her to be sure of herself.
Like, oh, I got that.
You don't want her to have, you want her self-esteem. You know, that's one thing that I struggle with my kids. You know, they're so sure of themselves. You know, I've got 2 teenagers, they're twins, they're boys, and they're so sure of themselves sometimes that I have to, you know, I feel like it's my job to knock them down a couple of steps, you know. Yeah, challenge them. I'm like, oh, who do you think you are? But you know, that's part of being a teenager. I'd rather them be sure of themselves than to leave the house and maybe worried about them, you know, being hurt or bullied or something like that. So that's a positive quality, you know, in moderation.
Does anybody want to take us home? Anybody want to wrap up for today? Or any finishing statements based on what we've explored and looked at today? I think she's going to be all right. It's the world I'm worried about, Adrian. Yeah. I think she's going to be just fine.
That's good news. Thank you. Sometimes I'm not sure. This is good. Thank you. It gave me a lot of direction too. I'm going to try some new stuff with her.
This is the time to do it. Age 11 is the perfect age. You can still kind of sway them in the direction you want them to go at this age. You know what I mean?
Were you wanting to say something, Sandra?
I'm just wondering about, I keep being drawn back to the 3rd house. And because everything else is so driven, so powerful. So, and this is her restriction, right? But it's like, it's at the bottom of the chart. It's almost like an anchor, like a grounding potential for her. And also linked into that Chiron. And it's like, well, is it that she can harness the power of really understanding maybe the smaller mind, the more the mind of those around her that she feels restricted by at the moment. If she can really understand their perspective and bring that into all that amazing other energy that she's got in the world, then yeah, she will be an amazing negotiator, but she'll be a strategic negotiator as well. She'll be strategic in all her relationships because she'll be able to adapt the expanded view that she has of the world in a way that she can communicate clearly with everybody she comes into contact with.
Hmm. Hmm.
I agree with what
Yeah, I
you're
see
saying.
that. She's like that. She's really like that too. And she says like she would just be walking down the street and she'll see this lady and she's like, "Oh, you look beautiful today," you know, like, and then like she knows how to. You're right. I think that that's something that I want to like focus on a little bit more with her too, because her perception is a bit dark, almost like she thinks that some people are when she's like assuming what other people are thinking or doing, she always goes to the negative first, right? And it weighs heavy on her faculty. So like almost like just a bit of a negative mind sometimes. Could be from that Jupiter, like trying to sort out. There's a lot of stuff going on there. Holy cow.
But she just sees from a much broader perspective than probably most of the people that she's around. And so I guess the people that then seen from their perspective is confining to her, is restrictive, is negative potentially. And so if she can, rather than get drawn into it, but be able to understand it, then it can be seen as a gift. That can be Chiron's gift to her. Okay, you're seeing a more mundane perspective for a reason, because you can also see it is in opposition, but it doesn't, that can potentially be a massive strength for her as she moves forward into the world, if she so chooses. But it just keeps, because all the lines just go down. So for me, it just feels like an anchor down there at the bottom of her chart. Maybe.
I see that. I hear what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. I see it. I think you're right. It's attached to, it's a ruling planet for her ascendant, and it's connected to that Neptune anyway. Whether she wants to work with it or not, all her experience is going to pull her back there, especially when she's got the expectation of pain attached to it, and attached to pain is fear, with Saturn up there in the 8th house. I think, based on what you're saying, maybe two planets to really work with are going to be Mars up there in the 10th house in Aquarius. I think there's a strong sense of justice in there, probably justice more than fairness. I don't know, because from when I look at her chart, I see and this may be why she can be frustrating to people in a close proximity environment, because she's always seeing things from the perspective of the world. That's what I'm saying. She's traveled enough of it and she's seen enough of it to see how people live and what people think, and most importantly, based on her criteria, what people do. Because she doesn't have a lot of air. What you do, what you say, and how you make me feel is who you are. That's my litmus test to decide how people, and then she's not just to herself, but also she sees how people treat each other and things like that. And I think she's taking it all in. I wonder if maybe that's got something to do with that darkness in her that you talk about. She's got a lot of Capricorn energy rubbing up against Saturn and Scorpio energy. So I think that Mars up there is going to help her work with that Jupiter down the bottom. That's the only, that and the sextile to Aries, Uranus and Aries down there. They're the two positive aspects she's got that are connecting up to that Jupiter. So if she can work with those, as Sandra's recommending, I think that's going to allow her to channel that energy, because there's a lot of it that's growing. It looks like internalized energy because she can't express it with that retrograde, or she's expressing it in an outward way all the time. But I think that may give her healthier ways of dealing with that. Yeah. Does that sound right, Sandra? Is that sort of in the direction you're wanting to go?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Well, thanks everybody. I think we've done a great job today. How do you feel, Adrian?
Thank you very much.
Great.
That was fabulous.
Awesome.
Thank you.
She sounds like a great kid.
She is. She's pretty good.
Out of curiosity, how many kids do you have? Does she have any siblings?
I have, oh, well, biological? I have 3.
Okay,
So I have one
but she's
older
growing up
one.
with how many?
She's just growing up with her little brother right now.
Okay.
He has his moon in Sagittarius too, actually. Yeah, so she's the leader of him.
But she's also older to him, no? Is she older than him?
Yeah. Oh yeah, she's older. She's the leader. And he just goes along. He's like, okay. It's very easy going.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess she's the oldest right now in her little sibling group.
God, you're lucky you're an Aquarius. Should eat you alive if you're a little Pisces, or you know, a Cancer or something. You take it so personally. You're lucky you're an Aquarius. Gosh, she's lucky too, I guess. Yeah. You'll challenge her, you'll push her. You know, you're coming from air, which will confound her, which I think is the only real weapon you've got against something that strong. You know, being able to derail her constantly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit much sometimes. Sometimes I need some help. Like,
Lovely.
Is that how you feel with your brother, Damien?
My brother.
Yeah. He's Earth too, right?
I don't have a brother. So.
Oh no, who were you talking about before? With taking the long showers.
Brother-in-law?
Oh, brother-in-law.
Oh, brother-in-law.
I don't know.
Yes,
Was that what he's?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, brother-in-law.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, definitely. He's a lovely guy, though. We get on well. Okay, everybody, I'm going to stop recording now. Thanks for today. But you're welcome to stick around, as always. Thanks for today.
Thank you.
And I'll
Thank
stop
you.
now.